Thank you, Ellie. Thank you, 90 Second Street Y. I'm really flattered to be here. Thank you, Sam Irby, for making my dreams come true and being here with you this evening. I feel like I should say, for anybody who doesn't know what this book is about, it's comprised of 40 stories from interesting minds of all creative stripes. I asked everybody the same question, which was, can you name a low point in your life and the food memory you associate with surviving it? I collected those stories in all possible ways, a lot of Zoom, but conversations over dinner, through voice notes, through email, through scraps of communicating done over various modes. I collected them during COVID, which of course was its own disaster and is. And I guess in a lot of ways, this project was my recipe for enduring that. But Sam, you were like the first star I reached for. And I had listened to your essays during COVID, and it was, it really kept me company, which is what made me feel like when I had to consider my own sensibility and I arrived at the conclusion that it was stories that are finally funny, I felt like you would be a perfect, truly the perfect fit. And
that is so nice.
And you delivered. Your story is hilarious. It's the first one in the book because I feel like it really encapsulates the theme in the most integrated way.
Are you sure you just didn't want people to like throw the book down after they were done with it?
Yeah, no,
Just
it's
kidding.
like, you're the only person actually who really knit your recipe into your story. But anyway, I think it would be great if you read it, but I was curious if you could tell me if you knew what you were going to write about when I asked.
Yes. Well, after a little thinking, when I tend to have a disaster, I couldn't really write a recipe for like 2 pints of Ben and Jerry's. Like that would have been cheating, or like, $20 worth of McDonald's or whatever the situation called for. So this is the one thing I actually like if I'm having a bad time, like cook. Otherwise, it's like chips in my car while crying.
Sure. Yeah. I mean, I admire that and I'm flattered that you felt that way there. And I was happy to have recipes of all varieties. There was definitely some fast food. There was some fast food.
Good. Those are my people. I feel
Yeah.
like those are your people too.
Yeah, there were gas station snacks.
Mm-hmm.
There were some people who just dumped out a story that they obviously really needed to tell, and then remembered a few days later that food was a part of it.
Mm-hmm.
It was, the answers came in all shapes and forms.
They were unloading all of their trauma onto you
Yeah.
with no food anecdotes.
Sometimes,
I get it.
Sometimes.
I mean, I almost did. I was like, let me think of every horrible thing that's ever happened to me and see if I can like attach it to a can of SpaghettiOs or something.
I have to say, in the course of editing this book, I really came to understand that I don't actually identify a disaster that I'm going through until I'm through it.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I don't necessarily realize that I'm experiencing a disaster until it's over. I've had a couple people who read the introduction to this book, which talks about a truly a hellscape of a breakup where there was fire and people died, and which is not funny, but is true. And have told me that they can't believe that these things were happening to me and they didn't know about it. And I don't think I know that I'm in the midst of a disaster until I am confident I've survived it.
Yep. Yeah.
Do you feel that? Yeah.
Yeah. In the moment, it's hard to, I think, as a relatively optimistic person, I'm always like, oh, I can get through this. Oh, this is fine. I'm okay. This is okay. And then when I'm through it, I'm like, oh my God, I can't believe I didn't die from that thing. I think to get through it, you have to like turn your brain off a little bit. And then once you're over the hill, you can like look back and survey the wreckage.
I told this story in another conversation about this book, that in thinking about the disasters in my life, even the like recovery periods have been weird and unknowable to me until I have looked back on them. There was a time in Brooklyn, like around 1998, where I had what we called a hot box, which was a cable box that was illegally wired so that you could get all the cable channels at all times. And it was before streamers and any of those things. And so there was like 3 pay-per-view channels that would just play the same movie over and over and over again. Anyway, I can't remember what had happened to me, but I think the time that the only time maybe that I was really truly depressed was a month living in that apartment in Bushwick with my hotbox when Practical Magic was on. And Practical Magic is a movie with Nicole Kidman and Sandra Bullock that I could not tell you one thing about, but I think I watched it like 3 or 4 times a day for like 4 to 6 weeks. I have no idea what that was doing for me or what I found in that. And I didn't remember even that I'd done it until maybe 10 years later. I was on a plane and Practical Magic was on, and I was like,
you had a sense memory.
Yeah. Anyway.
Oh my God. Do you like often pair your disaster foods with like viewing things? Because I do.
You do.
Yeah, I don't want to just like be alone and sad. I want to be alone and sad and like, watching 30 Rock.
Right. I mean, I think if I were really being honest, and this is a curious time to have chosen to do that, I would say it's like Huevos Rancheros and Nancy Meyers movies.
Perfect. Nancy knows how to make you feel good.
Yeah.
Just looking at one of those kitchens, you're like, my life is okay. I'm fine. Yeah, I feel that.
But I don't know if you know this, and despite the fact that this book is considered a cookbook, I actually don't cook. I started
at all?
Really, I mean, not really. No, I can make some stuff, but I wouldn't say I cook. My partner is one of those people who can she can look at things that appear to me to be utterly unrelated, like mayonnaise and capers and breadcrumbs, and turn it into something that's delicious. And I have no imagination about cooking. It's not my thing. I started this project because I am significantly more fluent in disasters.
I cook a lot, but it's well, I started cooking because it's an easy way to like impress someone dumb, right? Where it's like, well, my personality is not going to do it, but look at this pasta I made. You know what I mean? And then, over time, just continuing to do it. But cooking is easy if like what tastes you like, right? If you're like, sure. I know I want like an acidic taste. I know I want this. I think there's a secret chef in every person.
You do. Oh, that's comforting.
It's true.
Yeah, a lot of
it just takes practice, and the practice is annoying. And if you really mess up, it's like maybe a waste of money.
Right.
For the ingredients you bought, but you will get better.
One of the things that keeps me from cooking is that and one of the reasons I seek out recipes is because I'm good at following directions. I'm not great at freestyling in this category. I don't, right? And so often people will say, it's fine. It's totally easy. Just put some water in a pot. And right there, I'm like, how much water? What kind of pot? Like I need cold, hard fat. I need clear information.
Alice.
I know, I know, I know.
Okay, I didn't realize it was like what kind of pot dyer. So it
Yeah,
may take a little a
it is,
little more practice for you
yeah.
than for most people.
I
Oh
am
my
always,
God.
I am always looking for an out. Truth be told, I have other skills though. The division of labor in my partnership is very clear, and
Mhm.
I do other things.
What do you do?
I am the like general administrator. I pay the bills. I make
Mhm.
sure that things are renewed or and I handle the car, and
Mhm.
I do the kid stuff.
That's a lot. Yeah,
It's a lot.
you don't have to cook. I do
Yeah, there it
nothing.
is.
So when I cook, it's like, oh, look, I did one thing. Thanks for doing every single thing else.
Yeah. I mean, it's a lot though. You have to do it multiple times a day. So for me, it worked. That feels like a happy balance. I'm all right with that.
Yes. Well, lunch around here, everybody's on their own, but I will make a dinner.
Yeah.
Hello.
Um, okay. Food aside, do you have other rituals? So now you know that I secretly watched Practical Magic for a month and a half that I'll never get back. Is there something that you do around disasters, food or not?
I mean, I love TV, like,
Yeah.
and I know you're not supposed to admit that. And I see there's a little kid watching. I don't want him to know how much TV I watch. Like, I wish I was a person who was like, I'd listen to NPR when in the quiet moments, but I don't. Um, so in addition to like movies and TV, I'm a big basketball fan,
Me
and one of
too.
my favorite things to do is watch clips of the show Inside the NBA
Yeah.
on YouTube when
Yeah.
I'm bummed out because they're so funny.
They
Shaq
are
and Charles
so funny.
Barkley are so hilarious. They make me feel better. They feel like my uncles or cousins or something. And I will watch those videos over and over and over, like so much that like my wife now calls them my basketball guys, which
Sure.
really like deflates the balloon. You know what I mean? Like when she walks in the room, she's like, "Oh, hey, what are you doing? Watching your basketball guys?" And I'm like, "Yes, mom." You know what I mean?
I do.
So I I don't go into like the bowels of YouTube, but all of the what else do YouTube is really my like fix my terrible time. I love to watch buzzer beaters, like just compilations of buzzer beaters. Also, this
What's
is
a buzzer
like,
beater? I don't know what that is.
oh,
Like
it's like in a basketball game is tied
buzzer
and
beater.
there's like
Great
one
basketball
second
skill. I got
left
you. I
and
got it. I
somebody
got it.
makes a
Yeah, yeah.
shot. So I like to watch those. And I really like to watch videos of people like being nice to each other.
Oh,
And no, it's terrible. It's like I don't experience it in my real life. So I have to like watch people doing things for people.
here's another question. I have a harder time. This is another confession I wasn't planning to make, but I have a
Spill it
harder
all. We're
time.
all family here, right, everybody?
Yeah.
Yes.
When something like if a disaster happens, I have an easier time when people are like cold or mean to me about it than I do. It's harder for me to handle when somebody is like really warm and loving, not because I don't feel I deserve it. It's just so overwhelming that anybody should extend themselves that way. Do you have that? It like
We
makes
no, we are so different. I mean, I love you so much, but we like that's good. That's why this works because we are total opposites. Because I am the person who's like, I won't be like, do you want to hear the bad thing that happened to me? But if people know about it and then try to console me,
you're
I'm
there.
like a 4-year-old. I'm like, let me crawl in your lap and tell you how bad this thing
Oh,
was for me.
right,
But like
right.
it's terrible. I'm 43 years old. I should not be like that. But
Well,
anytime anybody's gonna like pat me on the head or the back and tell me everything's okay, I'm in. I'm
I think,
in.
I don't think either of us are necessarily calibrated appropriately, but I appreciate that there's a balance between us. Yeah.
Right. Like I should be like, thank you. Instead, I'm like, oh, do you want to cuddle me standing here on the street? Because I'm sad.
Right.
I wish I had, I mean, I wish I was like cooler or colder or whatever the right adjective is, but like I can get through anything, right? Like I've had, like my childhood was super tragic. Like both my parents died when I was a kid and I was on my own and all this other stuff. And I made it through all of that, right? So like I know I can do it, but
Yeah.
if someone wants to indulge me, then I'm like, yes, I'm so sad. Please help. And I mean, it's gross, but I love it.
I feel oddly jealous of that, I think. I really do.
I will help. I will help you.
You will. You can, maybe you can just cuddle people on my behalf.
Yes, next time you have a bad day, call me. I'll have to get on a plane. But then when
Yeah.
everyone's like being like, oh, Allison, like you move out of the way, I'll slip in.
Yeah.
And
We can have one of these, but cuddling.
yes. 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 Yes.
Right. Great. Well, great. Are there, okay, so, right, I was asking you about, first of all, I like basketball a lot also. And
Mhm.
I have started to watch the highlights because I find that the announcers are so hilarious. The things that they
Yes.
say are so ridiculous. This one, I can't remember, I think it was a Grizzlies game in the last round of the finals, but one announcer, every time somebody made a basket, said, locomotive. That was so
Yeah.
hilarious and ridiculous, but it
They're
made me
so
like,
funny.
yeah, now
I imagine like, 3 hours of watching or like 2.5 hours, you run out of things to say. So then you just start
it's just
saying anything.
random
I
nouns.
love that.
Yeah. Well, do you have a current short list for your own comfort foods?
Oh my God. Well, first of all, let's talk about the tragedy of my no longer eating gluten, which,
I'm there with you. I don't do that either.
oh
How's
my
it
God,
going? How long's
like
it been?
like a couple of months. The
Oh,
problem is that I feel better, right? So,
I know all about it. I know all about
oh, if it wasn't working, then I would just be like, forget
it.
this, I'm not doing it. But I feel better. I have Crohn's disease, which is an intestinal autoimmune
Sure.
disease, and the not eating gluten has helped. So my current rice-based comfort, no, I'm just kidding. What do I like? No, I really do like rice pudding. That is very comforting to me.
Yeah.
I am a pudding person. Here's
Oh,
an unpopular opinion. The less I have to chew, the better. So puddings are my style. Soup, I
you're all
love a soup. If
okay.
it's hot, I love a,
All right.
love a
Drinkable
soup.
food. I get it.
I do. What else? Lately I have been making like what I think of as like a comforting salad, which I guess for me, comfort really depends on like, or not depends, but like the definition of comfort for me is like, can I put it in a big bowl without looking
Yep.
like an idiot, right? It's like,
Yep.
how huge, like not a punch bowl, but can I put it in our biggest bowl and take it to where I can like wrap my arm around it? Talk about like admitting
Cradle it in your
terrible
lap.
things. Yeah, I'm like, I'm gonna take this big thing of cornflakes and just sit and eat those. So anything in a bowl, soup, and rice pudding.
Okay. All right.
Although I have to say that I wish it was like cake, right? But like gluten-free cake.
Sure. That's a
Not
thing.
my
It's
ministry.
come a long way. I have to tell you. But I mean,
Well, I've heard not in Kalamazoo, Michigan.
I feel you. I feel you. I have been a gluten-free person for a decade, and nobody
Oh,
wants to hear me talk about how it really is great. But
okay.
I too feel better because I have an autoimmune
Hmm.
disease. I have rheumatoid arthritis, and
Oh, uh-huh.
it makes a really big difference. And it's unfortunate that that should be true, but it's undeniable.
Right. It's like every time you drink a lot of water and like feel better, and it's like, oh, all those people in ads know what they're talking about, huh?
Right.
I don't
Um,
feel like I'm gonna fall over and die every
right.
30
I don't have a
minutes.
headache
Who
every day.
knew?
Yeah. Well, I thought I was going to ask you to read your essay early, but I think maybe I'm going to wait a little while because I have another few questions I feel like would be worth asking now. I wonder
Okay.
if
I thought I was gonna ask you questions.
you
This
are
is
welcome, please.
incredible. Everyone
Um,
watching is like, we came to see Allison.
yes, that's
Shut up.
definitely what they're saying. If I'm curious about what you would design or select in the face of these following disasters. If you lost your luggage, what's your go-to food?
I lost my
Gonna start
luggage. I
light.
mean, okay, uh, if we're being situational, whatever I could get my hands on at like the overpriced airline store, right? So some $7 M&Ms, so
Right.
a $32 Diet Coke, like truly whatever like crinkly snack I could get my hands on
Yeah.
immediately.
Airport food.
Yes,
Right.
yes.
And funerals? What's the good
Okay,
funeral food?
so I haven't been to a ton of funerals, but all of the funerals I've been to are Black funerals, and we like to throw down after somebody
Yeah.
has died. Like after my mom's funeral, uh like everybody was like, you know how everyone looks at you like, oh, I
I
don't
do.
bother her. I was
I,
like, yeah, don't bother me, there's chicken over here, right? So whatever the spread was, like the soul food of it all, the greens, the potato salad,
right.
the peach cobbler, I'm having all of that.
Yeah. Um, I listened to Joan Didion tell this story about it makes me sad to think about Joan Didion having to think about what to feed herself after her
Mhm.
husband died. But after John Gregory Dunn died, she was interviewed and said that she'd been reading Emily Post about what to do and what to eat, and that finger foods were the best for the bereaved because they were more likely to pick up something and eat it than they were to sit down with the plate,
Mhm.
which is clearly a cultural.
I mean, if that was my only option, I'd have a cucumber sandwich. So we'll see. I'll update you next time I
You're at
go
a
to a
funeral.
non-Black funeral, and I'll tell you about like the pedophores or whatever.
Well, most of the funerals I've been in, no, two, were in West Virginia, where
Okay,
a lot of
what they
my,
have.
and it's so, I have to say, it's really heartwarming. All of those funerals were in the same church because it's a town of like 7,500 people that were all related to me, but they, whatever community members were around would make lunch following the funeral. And then you'd go to the basement of the church and then you'd eat
Mhm.
like ham salad or, something had a lot of mayonnaise and it was on a lettuce leaf and it had a maraschino cherry on top. And then there'd be a roll. And then just pies, all the pies.
Mhm.
Anyway, that is like the only formal funeral food that I can remember. I can't remember anything about my mother
Did
died.
people get
Funeral.
funerals catered?
No food. I guess
Like, or
I
is it
would.
just like somebody's grandma cooking? Because that's what I've experienced. Like, the deaconess at the church is like making the food
Yeah.
downstairs.
Well, that's what I mean. The people in the church, Yes, church members, congregation members would make food for whichever family was.
But I wonder if like fancy funerals, they like call in a service.
Yeah. Well, I mean, as I am unlikely to have a loved one remembered in a church, and I am not one whose food anybody wants to eat, I'm the person who's calling the service. That's me. Once again. Yeah.
Next death, we'll check in.
Right, exactly. I'll give you some caterers. You can pass on some recipes.
Thank you.
What about breakups? I mean, your story, I guess, really is the epitome, but are you still, I mean, and I hope you never have to figure that out again, but.
Listen, no promises. She does get on my nerves. No, I'm just kidding. I love my wife so much. She's so nice. I mean, I'm sort of, sometimes I'm a like eat after a breakup person. Sometimes I'm like a sleep after a breakup person. I would say, I know it is so cliche, but like nothing is better than like really good ice cream when you've gotten, especially if you get dumped. If you do the dumping, then like shit, go out for a cocktail. But like if it happens to you, like truly nothing comes close to like, I mean like a buttery like Jenny's, you know, like something like that costs too much,
right,
and is gonna tear up your butthole on its way out. That is, but that feels like cleansing too, right? It's like, I'm gonna shit this person right out of my system. Two in one. So ice cream is it. What about you?
It's such a boring story. It's pathetic. It's actually like another exercise in austerity. I know. The breakup that like ended all breakups for me was left me living alone in an apartment that I had shared with this person, and I was both sad and broke. So I made the same thing every night. Ritual really is my church, apparently. It is, I am ashamed to tell you this. It is steamed tofu and spinach and one slice of toast with tofu cream cheese.
That's the worst thing I've ever heard in my life.
I know.
Steamed tofu. What is the text? Okay, I gotta walk back what I said about not chewing, because what is the texture of steamed tofu? Did you put some sauce on it?
Yes, I did. I put sesame oil, tamari, and sesame seeds on it, which is not enough.
It's something.
Yeah, but it is something. I think I was trying to take care of myself, and that made me, again, I don't know how to cook. Like, I can't cook. I was like, I can make this thing. It's hot. It makes me feel like I'm doing something good for myself. I'm just going to do this on repeat. Yeah, I would say that steamed tofu had the texture maybe of like a hot eraser. Yeah.
Oh, and how long did you do it for?
Like maybe 4 or 5 months. Like a long time. I know.
You gotta like call me if next time something happens.
Now you see why somebody, like, there's no problem when nobody's asking me to handle some of the food responsibility. Like, no, but there's no, nobody here wants me to be part of that.
I will come cook for you next time you have a tragedy. That steamed tofu just broke my heart.
I know. It's rough. It's a rough truth, but it is.
God.
It's true.
I can see people crying in their little Zoom windows after hearing that.
Yeah.
It's okay, guys. We'll get through this together. Woo! Oh. Well, see, yours is healthy though. Like, why am I hating, right? Like, at least there are vitamins in yours.
I think that's how I thought about it.
Yes. At least you're getting your folic acid.
I'm practical if nothing else. And sadly, I was telling my wife recently about how we were listening to Owner of a Lonely Heart by Yes on the radio. And we were talking about what a great song it was. And I was telling her about how I really embarrassed myself on the subway once because I was listening to that song in headphones, but forgot that everybody on the subway wasn't also listening to that song. And I sang out into a subway car in Brooklyn, Eagle in the Sky, which is a lyric. And I was so embarrassed. So I wondered what's your recipe for public humiliation?
Oh. Okay, do you want to hear a humiliating thing that I immediately ate after? Okay. So like I am from Chicago, my wife is from Michigan. And so we did long distance for years, which was actually really great because I like didn't have to clean up as much, and it was very easy to present myself as a put together person every couple of weekends, right? So I loved that. But one weekend I came to her house to like meet all of her friends. It was a big like meet, here is everyone I know and love, meet them. And she had gone to get like extra place settings and tables or chairs. And there was a chair that didn't put together correctly. Come on, you guys.
Yeah.
I fucking like fell out of that chair with all these like very sweet like yoga moms looking at me. And it was rough. And I had to do the thing where I was on the floor and like it was like a horror movie where I had to like slam one hand up on the table and then the other. Look, I just knocked a bunch of shit down on my desk and like pull myself up. It was terrible. And after that, there were donuts on the table and I had a lot of donuts. So cider donuts, my very specific public humiliation remedy.
Yeah.
Oh my God, just thinking about that. Imagine making that first impression. Like,
and yeah,
it was rough. I'm
sure it was endearing for all of those other people though.
I hope so. Yeah, I still know them all, and maybe they like me, but also they're all white, so maybe they think it's like racist to laugh at me, which woo! It is. We're very kind to withhold their laughter.
What do you do if you see somebody who does something embarrassing in front of you?
I have such terrible secondhand embarrassment. The first thing I would try to do is help fix it and help them as soon as possible. Like if a waitress drops a tray of glasses near me, I'm the first one out of the chair, like, come on, girl, let's get these martinis back to the bar. Like I will try to head it off so that it's a little less embarrassing for them. If it's not the kind of situation where I can help, like on TV, oh God, like when you watch like a live debate or something, and like it's like, oh no, come on, don't say that, Joe Biden. I have to like close my eyes and plug my ears.
Yeah, me too. It's embarrassing. I
can't even witness it. I cannot witness. It's like it's too much for me. Ugh. And like bad mean pranks, I can't take a mean prank because the person is just like an unsuspecting person. They're about to be humiliated in front of these cameras.
Yeah, I try to get in it with whoever has been embarrassed. I try to align myself with that person so that we can be I'm just trying to absorb some some of it.
Yes. It's like, oh, you shit your pants. Well, let me shit my pants too. So you don't have to be the only one instincting shit.
It's hard to do that on command, but it's that type of thing. You're right. You're right.
You feel so alone when you're humiliated. And I want someone to know that, like, listen, I'm a huge embarrassment too. Don't sweat it. You are not
Yeah.
You're not alone.
I think though, I have actually approached a time in my life where even yesterday, I was trying to drive to a grocery store that is not close enough apparently to my house. And there was the 5-borough bike tour happening, which meant so many roadways were closed off. I couldn't get there. And I was actually like, I had that thought, like, am I gonna in my pants? And then I thought, whatever.
Yeah.
I am
mean,
now old enough
truly.
to be like, I'm gonna live. That's fine.
Yes. If you did, what happened? That's what I'm saying to myself all the time.
Yeah.
In whatever situation. If the worst, this is too much information. I got diagnosed with OCD like 9 months ago. And in addition to being on much Zoloft, one of the things you have to do is exposure therapy. And the exposure therapy I'm doing with my psychiatrist is I have to imagine like situations that stress me out and write them in like lurid detail. She's like, what's the worst thing that could happen if, like, one of my things is like, I'm always afraid somebody's gonna like yell at me in the car because I'm driving wrong. And she's like, you got to write a whole scenario when like the worst thing happens to you, and then you have to read it over and over again until you become like numb to it. The numbness has not happened. I am horrified anew every time I read it, but it does get me comfortable with the idea that like I'll survive it.
Yeah.
Which is really all we can ask for. Like, you will make it home and have like jarred salsa and chips waiting for you.
Right. Exactly.
That's one of my emotional eating snacks.
I share that one. I like that.
Tostitos salsa. I know everybody's like, oh, you gotta eat it fresh. I like all my stuff from the store. Tostitos salsa and some tortilla chips. Solve a problem in a pinch.
Yeah. Salt. That's my category. I don't like, I'm not so much of a sweet tooth, but French fries are rate high on my list of things that make me feel better.
Okay.
But yes, I agree. And that's kind of what this book is about, right? It's like, whatever it is, you're going to be through it. The point of remembering it is to acknowledge that you got there. And
so actually the book is uplifting.
I try to tell people that I think it is. I mean, listen, I have to tell you, I find some of my closest community among people who have been through the ringer. Like, those are my people. And it's because that, among those people that there can be gravity and levity at the same time. You can be utterly bereft and optimistic. And I find that those are the people that can celebrate the bad shit and not just the happiest days. I have a real hard time hanging out with people who want to make everything the best news ever. Because
me too. I do not know any people like that. I do not wish to know any people like that. Like, you need people who can meet you at your same level of like messed up, right? Like, and people who are like, oh, that'll be fine, everything's great, are usually not as messed up as I like my people to be.
Right.
I'm like, oh, you had a happy childhood? You got to go find somebody else.
Right.
I can't help you. Okay, do you want to answer some questions that are in the chat?
Sure.
It's chat
you see them, you tell me.
Okay. Let's see. Okay. Oh, okay. Jillian. Oh, this is very nice. Said, just ordered the book, Alison, and I can't wait to read it. Sam, I love you. Well, I love you too, Jillian. Your books have comforted me deeply in tough times. I mean, next time try eating them and see what happens. No, I'm just kidding. Okay. Question for you both. Which foods do you associate with your youth or past most at these specific ages? 10, 15, 21. And for her, 10 years old is her mom's tuna casserole. 15 was daily Slurpees and Gardettos, that I can like taste the combination of those two. Okay. 10-year-old you, what do
15.
you associate
Oh,
with your
10-year-old
10-year-old
me.
self?
My mom made something I've never seen since, but she called it creamed. I'm not your girl for the glamorous food story, called creamed eggs on toast. And it was like just what it sounds like. And I loved it. I loved it. There was a little hole in it. It had bread. It was great.
Cute.
Yeah.
My mom used to make, like when I was 10 in the summer, she was not a cooker, you know, she could do a little something, but
Yeah.
not really. She would make every day. She's like you, every day
Yeah.
tuna with macaroni noodles on beds of iceberg lettuce every summer day.
Right.
So
It's
needless
like
to say, I love tuna. If you smell fish, it's me. Okay, 15 years old.
15. Every day for breakfast when I was 15, I had a Hershey bar with almonds, a blueberry Hubba Bubba, and a Pepsi. I hadn't even come around to Coca-Cola yet at that point. I mean, not to be
Youth is so incredible. Like if you ate that now, you'd be in a coma.
I would
But like
absolutely
when
would
you're
be
a kid, it's
every
incredible.
day. Every day. How about you?
Every day at lunch in the cafeteria, I was on the hot lunch program, of course, and
Sure.
I would get, it was like a McChicken before McChickens were invented. It was like a chicken patty on a bun with lettuce, but not like great lettuce, like garbage lettuce.
Like white
And
lettuce?
yes, I would eat that every single day because it was the quickest to get in line and it was always the same. Like I'm not gonna try the
Yeah.
cafeteria's like attempt at pot roast, right? No,
Yeah.
I'm gonna eat this chicken sandwich I know won't put me in traction and then go about the rest of my day. Okay,
Right.
and 21.
I don't think I ate anything when I was 21. I don't remember anything about what I ate. I gotta be honest with you. My mother died when I was 17, and the 5 years after that, I don't remember. I don't
Yeah.
remember anything. I
Yep,
don't know.
I feel that. I don't remember what I ate at 21, but I did drink at 21. And this is maybe the most humiliating thing I will ever say to anyone. My drink of choice was, oh my God, raspberry Stoli
Ooh, oh
in
God.
7-Up with a lime squeezed in it. And I
Right.
thought the lime made me like
Classy.
Carrie Bradshaw, right? I was like, don't forget the squeeze of lime in there. And like the bartender's looking at me like, oh, in your juice? Sure, here you go. Can you
Yeah.
imagine me like at a disco in Chicago and trying to get a Stoli raspberry? Like, what a nightmare. Okay, next question. Alison, how did you choose the contributors and what was that process like?
Choose, I think, is not the word I would use. I asked probably 150 people to
Oh my God.
get these 40. Yeah, maybe 120, but like a lot. And a lot, I mean, I aimed high, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah.
But I really,
Wow.
it was also a difficult time. We were right in the middle of COVID. I'm sure this was, I felt like, hey, nobody has anything to do, but I'm sure people were busy. And this was not necessarily what people wanted to talk about. Let's talk about rehash an old disaster of yours. But I felt like it was prime time. And I chose people truthfully, I just chose people whose work I liked, who have meant anything to me. And in some ways, if I think about all 40 contributors, it is kind of it's a representation of my breadth of interests.
That's cool.
But it is cool. Like it feels much more intimate to me than I expected it to. And some people I just cold called. Some people knew somebody like you. I sent you voice notes of my wife talking because I thought it might be more compelling than my own.
You didn't have to, but I enjoyed them. Do people know who your wife? Now you have to say who your wife is, so I don't look like a maniac.
My wife is Michelle Ndegeocello, who is also in the book and who does have one of the most compelling voices of all time.
Compelling or the sexiest voice you've ever heard.
Yeah.
I can't believe that's who's whispering to you on the pillow every night. Can I just say that?
Yeah. I mean,
oh my God.
17 years later, it's, the content of the whispers has gotten a lot drier.
Did you take the garbage out?
Yeah.
What time is the PTA meeting tomorrow?
Yeah. But when I hear her recorded voice, I still remember like, oh yeah, right. That really is, it is something. But I was willing to try any trick I could to get people to be part of it. It was harder than I thought, but it yielded a group of people that I feel really proud of.
That's great. So you answered this a little, but what is the biggest lesson you learned from putting together your first book?
That it takes a lot longer than I thought. And I think that is like, it is a exercise in tremendous pace, at least for me. You might have a quicker turnaround time than I do, but.
Oh no, I turn in everything late at the last minute. Like if my editor's like, oh, hey, I want this in 6 months, I start writing in 5 months and 2 weeks. So I know.
But I think personally, it's the thing about not really recognizing that I'm in the midst of a disaster while it's happening. I think that's the thing I learned about myself, at least in the course of this book. I hadn't realized it was that true until so many people noted all of these things they had never known were so bad. And yeah, I think I'm now trying to get better at that, to be honest. It's much more handy to have help when you need it than when it's an anecdote much later. Yeah.
Okay, let's see. Amy said, hi, Allison. Watching this with my parents, Anne and Graham. We love you. Can't wait to read the book. That is so nice.
Yeah.
I've been trying to make Graham laugh this whole time. Every time I make a joke, I check to see if I got him. I've been getting him a lot.
I'm sure you have. I'm sure. Those 3 people have known me my whole life long.
Oh, that is so sweet. See, I love this. Okay. Debbie Pressman, my girl, said, what's the least satisfying thing you've eaten after a disaster?
I mean, I think I already told that story. It was the hot eraser dish.
Well, you were nourished at least. I'm trying to put a good spin on it since I was such an asshole about it.
No.
You had nutrients. I don't know that I've ever eaten anything bad after a disaster, because that is the time when I really seek out something good. Like when I'm like in a good mood, that's when, the salad, that's when I'm like, I guess I'll choke down this bag of greens. But like when I'm bummed out, no, we're not going to the produce section. We're going to the middle of the grocery store. We're going to the freezer aisle, to the chip aisle, and then the cookie aisle, and we're going to see what looks good out of those.
Yeah. I mean, I think that is probably much more effective. I think I'm really worried that it's a slippery slope. And if I start down like a unhealthy path, it could be the end of me. So then I get real serious about making sure and I also just don't care. Honestly, I don't care. Like I'm happy to just fill the hole and keep it moving.
Whatever's around, just stuff it. No, I feel that. Let's see. Janet would like to know, Allison, you mentioned you are not a cook. Do you like to be cooked for? Are you an adventurous eater when it's not steamed tofu time? I am so sorry, but the rest of your life, people are going to call you steamed tofu time. I'm really sorry.
I am an adventurous eater. I love it when people cook for me. I love I love the experience of eating with other people. I love the community bit. And I like the food. I much prefer flavorful, dynamic, dimensional food, but I don't, no, I don't want to do that. I'm always the kitchen cleaner. So I love to be cooked for, and in return, I will clean the shit out of your kitchen. I really will.
That is the good thing about being the cook, is that you can just be like, oh, everyone's done and full and tired. I'm gonna go lay down. The rest of you, the SOS pads are under the sink. See you later.
Yeah.
Okay, let's see. Delia says, you mentioned that some people sent disaster stories and forgot recipes. Can you share any misinterpretations of the question you asked? Submissions that were something else altogether?
I would hesitate to call them like misfires, because I really tried to be open to whatever people wanted to send me. I think the most original submission was Kyle Abrahams, who is an incredible choreographer and dancer, and he sent a dance. That was his recipe, was do this with your body when times are tough. And that was
that's so good.
Really singular. Yeah. Emily King sent a story that was really embarrassing. And I felt very grateful and flattered that she was willing to share such an embarrassing story with me. And it was a story that took place on stage at Radio City Music Hall at a show, a performance I attended. Yeah.
Oh my God.
I felt like that was, I mean, she was the one person who really was like, this, I was humiliated and here are the details. And then she sent it to me and I was like, okay, so plus food, any thoughts? And we had to work at it for a while until she came up with something that she felt generally comforted her.
Oh, that's great, man. When you reached out to me, like, I was like, yes, I'll do it. I'll flay myself open for you. And yes, I'm gonna tell you how to make this sad chicken that I like to eat. But I love that she had to like come to it, like figure it out.
Yeah.
Okay.
She was somebody who definitely needed to get the story out.
Yeah. I mean, that's cathartic. The titles of each essay are all so great and unique. Did you edit? Oh, wait, that just moved. Oh, there we go. Did you edit the titles, or were those submitted by the authors?
No, I wrote most of the titles. I don't think anybody submitted a title. It was so hard to get people to submit anything.
I mean, I will never put together an anthology for that exact reason. Like, I know what I'm like. I cannot be on the receiving end. Like, my editor has the patience of a saint. I don't.
It's worth it.
I would just be stressed out and sweating the whole time. Never. So that's amazing that you could do it.
Yeah. Well, Kia Damon, who is a chef in Brooklyn and is incredible. I was determined to get her, and I wrote her once a week for a year, and she never answered me. But a year later, she finally was like, okay.
That's like a big success story.
Yeah. And I talked to her on the phone, and she told me a hilarious story. And she's a chef, like a well-known and very well-respected chef. And her recipe was a Popeye's chicken sandwich.
Now, I hear that.
Yeah.
And okay, we're going to do one last question because it's almost time for us to go.
Flew right by.
Is there a dish you wish would magically appear after a disaster? That is a perfect wrapping up question.
I think it's grilled cheese. If I could really have anything, I'd have a grilled cheese.
Mm-hmm. So good. Mine would have to be like a piece of like chocolate birthday cake.
Yeah.
Not fancy cake.
Right.
Grocery store birthday cake.
Yeah.
Oh, that was really great. I don't know how we wrap this up? Does Ellie come back? Do we start tap dancing? Do we sing a goodbye song?
I mean,
What do we
I
do?
sing as well as I cook, so I would recommend we make a different plan, but I'm here
Okay,
for.
so I'm gonna say order the book, buy the
Oh, yeah.
book, tell your friends, post it on whatever social media you are on. What else? Bully your peers into buying it. I'm in it, so if you enjoyed me, I'm sorry for you, but also you could read what I wrote. What else? Alison's the best. Buy the book.
Thank you so much, Sam.
Oh my God, this was great. I had a lot of fun.
Me
I hope
too.
everyone else had fun.
Thanks for being
I see my little man disappeared from the screen. They were like, let me get his ass out of here. What are they talking about? They were like, beat it. Yeah, thank you for asking me to do this. Thank you for asking me to be a part of the book. It was a thrill. It continues to be a thrill.
Thank you. It's all mine.
Oh,
Appreciate you.
I appreciate you. And we appreciate everybody who came.